Welcome to another show on Sunday night. Google is partnering with us now to promote sports entertainment, and we love it. And tonight, an interesting host, Paul Monroe, the Vice President and Marketing for the Dallas Mavericks. First want to introduce everybody else as well. Mandy Metzger with the Phoenix Suns, digital marketing. We got Keith Knox. We'll be tweeting. Anybody that wants to tweet, the hashtag is SSE Show. We got Ken Troop now doing tickets and marketing for the Phoenix Coyotes, NHL. We miss you in Dallas, by the way. Charles Hogue, producing. We have Corey Hollingsworth. You know me. We got Britt Brown, and we also have Brad Harrison. But I always like to introduce everybody else before we start with our guest. Our guest tonight, Paul Monroe. Thanks for joining us. Hey, you guys coming off. Look. By the way, I honored you tonight, my friend.
There you go.
No offense. I've never, ever in my life, I've been in Dallas since '95, covered you guys, never bought a Dallas Mavericks shirt. I know you hate to hear that.
We've had some fire sales recently.
Okay. So I know you hate to hear that, but when you win an NBA championship, I went out and bought one right away. Why did it take me so long? And how does that help you guys when you win championships? It's easier to sell, isn't it?
It is. Merchandise a little bit different on each league, but with the teams, the Mavs are going to earn their revenues and their profits from the local market. So we're going to make our profits and revenues from our fan shops at the arena. We've got a couple off-site locations. We've got one at a local mall called North Park Mall, and then through Mavs.com. So we encourage our fans locally and globally to go to Mavs.com, and they're going to find some things that they might not find at the NBA site or elsewhere, any other licensed products. So we do encourage that. And, when you come off a big season, a big win, obviously the finals, the momentum shift, and you get a lot of bandwagoners and folks that get excited when we follow the championship with parades and some other static events. So people are going to go out, and they're going to want to fit in, and they're going to want to blend and wear that royal blue.
I love that you just called me a bandwagoner, by the way. I'll ask about 2 or 3 questions. When you're ready, raise your hand, or in the chat, let me know. Interesting. Okay, so your background. Well, I want to back up a little bit. I started too early with the Mavericks. I want to back up with your history, okay? Tell people how you got into marketing. It wasn't an NBA team. It was elephants, clowns, and all that kind of stuff. Talk about that.
Yeah, right. Ringling Brothers in Barnum and Bailey. We have to say the full name correctly. I always, as a promoter, would get upset with the radio or the TV folks that would say the circus is coming to town because the brand was Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, owned by Feld Entertainment. So I got my start, I guess if you so say, of sweeping up under the elephants and doing the elephant walks and walking the performers to and from the arenas. And I worked for Feld for about 8 years and worked my way up the ranks. And also Feld also produces Disney on Ice and they do a lot of live events. They pride themselves as being the largest family entertainer around the world. So globally, Ringling and Disney touch other countries: Europe, Japan, Asia, South America. In Texas alone, we play about 20 markets, or Feld played about 20 markets. So I spent 8 years on the road, kind of a promoter of sorts, just not the concert business. It was clowns and Mickey Mouse, but it was a great job. And you learn the ropes. A lot of folks that want to get into sports marketing, they kind of think they want to go to the big leagues. But I'll tell you what, working for the circus allows you to learn ticketing, operations, sponsorship, marketing 101, media buying, public relations. I mean, dealing with public relations, you deal with a lot of folks that are animal activists and believe in PETA, so you have to deal with that. Security. So you kind of earn your stripes in all areas. Maybe not a master of all, but you were a jack of all trades, and it was a great start, and I fell in love with it, and it was great during the economic downturns. A lot of families don't leave to take those summer vacations. They'll save their money, and they'll go to the local circus that comes to town, or the Ringling Brothers show, or they'll go see Disney on Ice, as opposed to maybe going to Anaheim or down to Orlando, because if there are some parents sitting on the internet right now, they know that's a $3,000 to $5,000 trip. So it's pretty expensive on any front, going to the circus or going to a sporting event. But a few $100 as opposed to a few thousand to see a great quality show and see Mickey Mouse skate up to you or get close and personal with maybe an elephant. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, a great experience and 8 years of that.
But I love some of your stories. I'll get to the Mavericks in a minute, but I'm telling you folks, this is an interesting one. He had to be creative as heck. So tell him some of the marketing stuff you did with the circus to try and draw interest.
Boy, I can't wait to write a book one of these days. It's too bad that I've got 2 boys. One is 5 and the other's 8. We actually went to Ringling Brothers today because they play a 3-week run in the Dallas-Fort Worth, the Metroplex here. So they're 2 weeks at American Airlines Center and a week in Fort Worth. But I had to laugh because I've been removed from Feld for about 7 years now, and seeing some of my friends still in the circus from the operations side to some of the performers that are still there. But yeah, some that I can't say online, but anything from trying to get a sponsorship with General Motors and bringing a Vibe car outside the loading dock and getting a couple elephants to wash the car.
He froze for a minute, and what he was going to say is he brought the elephants out, and he had the elephants wash the car for a part of the sponsorship. Wow. And he'll pop back on in a minute. And it's just some of the most creative stuff that, you know, and here he comes. He'll tell the story. So, Paul, what I was explaining was you had to be creative. You had elephants washing cars, things like that. Tell him that story.
Yeah, the elephants washing the cars, like I said, we got kind of cut off, but you know, budgets weren't really big with the circus. They're not big in any of the live sports and entertainment. You don't deal with massive budgets, and I think that's the perception from the outside, from media, from all across the boards. But at that time, it was really the TV and radio and major dailies, your print. So you know, they were expensive rates, and you needed additional dollars. So there's where you earned your stripes on the sponsorship side. But I'd go to the car affiliate, GMR Works, that oversaw the marketing for General Motors, and we brought some Pontiac cars out there, and I told them that I put a car wash together that they had never seen. So we've got about 4 Asian elephants out there with soaps and suds and a bunch of cloths and brushes, and had them washing the cars. And you know, the gig on it was to get the cameras out there. So if you got about 5 to 6 cameras out there in your major stations, and the Houston Chronicle or whoever it was, I mean, it was a hit. So that's all that really mattered, was how do I get that free publicity out of it? And if I had to use an elephant, so be it. And the elephants didn't mind. It was 110 degrees back there, so to get wet a little bit and have some soap suds or feed them watermelons or do whatever, that was the key. That was the beauty with Feld, because when you bring those elephants, the clowns, the performers out, people would come, and then they would buy tickets, and that's what you relied on. You relied on that walk-up. So you had to be creative. You still have to be creative in all venues, but it was a little bit easier where, as opposed to athletes and the long schedule that they are throughout a season, when a circus would come to town, or Harlem Globetrotters, or whatever you see, there's more flexibility with it. And if you had the relationship with the performers and you treated them well, and I'd have enough tickets to barter, I'd barter around the 4 Seasons, and we do a golf tournament out here at Las Colinas where they play the TPC Byron Nelson. And I would get called in by the director of the golf course, and he'd tell me that we'd have to put some shorts and shirts on these guys. They couldn't come out wearing clown makeup and lycra and so forth. And it was hilarious to see these performers come out there. But they had a hell of a time, and they'd give me anything I wanted. So it was, and the stories went on and on. So I mean, dealing with a 33-inch midget or a small person to the world's tallest man, to a clown, to Mickey Mouse. I mean, it was great. But what was great about it, the fans and the kids and the parents, the adults, the grandparents that would come on out. So you could do some wild, wacky things. And if you yielded selling 100 tickets or a couple thousand tickets, it's always great, because with the circus you have about, in Dallas, they run about close to 26 shows within a 2-week run.
So basically, that background in the circus helped you with your new circus, since you work with Cuban, right? He froze on that one. I think Cuban just zapped him. That was perfect.
It's a good
what a
pose
segue.
He stopped him. So.
Huh? I stumped him?
It's a good pose that he stopped in. He's got this very pensive, you know.
That's my last question, and then Ken Troop will be next. I hope we don't fill the spots, though, Charles.
I think he can come right back into his own.
You can?
Yeah.
Is that the rule? So what is that, just a Wi-Fi connection?
That's what I would assume.
Okay. No worries.
Without being there, I couldn't tell you.
All right, what we'll do next is when he comes back on, I'll ask this last question, and then you guys, I know Ken's ready, and then who's ever after that, let me know in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll move you right in. What's up, Diana?
There you go.
Nothing much, just kind of chilling. Just saw y'all on here.
All right. Paul, you hear us? I like that NBA championship trophy he's got.
You can't beat that.
That's pretty cool.
Ken, how you
Yeah,
enjoying the Arizona weather?
It's a little warm, but nothing I can't handle so far.
Nice.
Brooke, you're in Arizona as well?
Yep.
Oh wow, so we got 3 Arizona folks on here tonight.
We win. We're gonna win any debate by majority.
Word.
Word. I was gonna ask him, Chris. I've always seen whenever they're setting up the circus and they're practicing, there's always like the oldest guy in the building is scooping up poo, and the youngest kid in the building is always scooping up poo. So I always thought that was the entry and the exit point of working for the circus.
I just love that story that he worked in the circus before he got in the NBA.
Hey, my old boss.
What's going on with you? What did you start doing? We're going to interview you now. We're going to put you on the spot. You didn't know you were going to be a guest tonight until Paul comes back.
My whole career was newspapers before I moved out here to Arizona. So.
Oh, really?
Yep. All on the digital side, though. So I was one of the trailblazers of the online newspaper website.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
What newspaper was it?
It was the Tennessean in Nashville.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You know, I went to high school in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
No.
Yeah.
I love Chattanooga. Such a pretty city.
You know Macaulay, the Macaulay Blue Tornadoes?
No.
Oh, come on. We were a powerhouse.
Well, no. Yeah. No, I grew up in Kentucky, so I don't know high schools or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were too big time for the high school beat.
Actually, I moved up in Tennessee. Kentucky's not much more fancy than Tennessee. But, yeah.
Charles, you want me to get him on the phone, or you want to try and...
He's already joined once and dropped back out again. It just seems to be here comes again. I'm going to mess with him this time.
Ask him if he has a clown nose, Chris. Ask him, like that guy from the newsroom, ask him if he has a clown nose to show us.
Oh, yeah. That would have been great.
Or if he can juggle a bowling pin.
Yeah. we had a guy from the HBO show, The Newsroom, and he started putting on clown nose and stuff.
Jamal.
Yeah.
He didn't make it back in, did he?
Not yet.
It still gives us an issue.
I think when I asked the Cuban question, Cuban controls the internet, so I think he cut him out. Well, let's just have a talk then until he comes back.
Maybe Cuban used one of those Jedi mind trick things with his hand.
I don't know. I was in Cuban's Hangout.
Yeah,
we
invited Cuban. I'll never forget the first time I interviewed Cuban. He had just moved to Dallas, and I have a picture of that. Knox, I need to get you that picture and we'll post it. It was me, Ducey, and Hanks, and we go to his house, and there's not one piece of furniture in his entire house, and it's like 18,000 square feet. And I'm like, oh, so you just moved in? He goes, no, I've been here for a couple weeks. I'm like, what about your furniture, man? He goes, I don't need furniture. And I'm not joking. His house was completely empty. This was when he was single, and he just didn't want furniture. And I think he had like a pool table and like one sofa, and everything else, no pictures, no nothing. It was just a house with no furniture. It was wild.
It's amazing how that works sometimes. A family friend of ours actually works for Google as well. And when when he moved to San Francisco, and he started working up there, just living up there, had nothing in his apartment. He had essentially one tiny chair for him, a small television, just attached to a DVD player, and that was it. I mean, he had a bed too, but it was so simplistic. Just he had nothing else. He didn't need anything else. He didn't have a girlfriend. He didn't have anything else.
Maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe simplistic
No,
is the way
it's not. Oh, that sounds awful.
No.
I could imagine sleeping on a pool table. No, not really.
There's a little bit of padding.
A little bit of padding.
Just make sure you bring a bunch of pillows.
Here we go.
Here it goes.
Here we go. Let's do it. This is gonna be good. We're gonna mess with him. If he ever gets back on, I'm definitely gonna. Maybe he's. Do you think that one of his things locked up and now he's filled up his own spots?
No, there's only 9 spots in here right now. He should be able to join without any issue.
Here, I'll call him real quick. Hey, we could do a. Well, you know what we could do? It would be kind of fun. We can have him on speaker and y'all could talk to him on my phone.
Or we could prank call him.
Here, let's do this. This will be excellent. This will be part of our new.
Hey, buddy, I'm trying to get back on.
Hey, and so Mark, thank you. We're really oh, really? Okay. And so, what do you think of what Paul's doing? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, we're trying to get him back on. I think you took a spot, Cuban. Do you mind getting off so Paul Monroe can get back on? Paul, are you on the line? We're trying to get Cuban. We're trying to get Cuban off real quick. Oh, they're saying the Hangout's full. That's the problem, Charles. Because Cuban's on.
You need to get
Mark,
somebody to drop out, and then Diana, can you drop out real quick and come back?
Diana, drop off real quick. All right, and also Cuban. Cuban, get off, please. Okay, so Cuban's getting off, so you can come back on. We'd rather have you on than Mark Cuban. Is that cool? Okay.
Hey, Chris, you may want to turn your phone a little more. Now the phone number's showing.
He locked up his own thing.
Oh.
There he is. There we are. Hey, back to the circus. You actually killed my question, by the way. We had really good momentum.
Yeah, I'm looking at the faces. Everybody's kind of just worn out from this. We're
worn out. No, you're doing good. Hey, you're doing great. Cuban was awesome. So,
great, good.
Okay, so last question opens up the floor. I loved how you went from the circus to the circus again. Mark Cuban. Can you talk about your boss? He's an interesting guy.
Here it was. About 8 years when you're in that type of industry, that type of entertainment, the touring side of it gets it does get wearing with you. When you do this for a few years, you get a lot of folks that, again, folks in sports and entertainment, especially the concert business side, which has changed its landscape quite a bit. But the old school promoter was handling the East Coast and the West Coast, doing a ton of dates. They try to regionalize it, but again, after a while of more arenas being popped up everywhere and being on the road, pretty much, about 80% of the year, it does get hard when you want to settle down a little bit and raise families and all that good stuff. And the Mavericks came calling, and that was the beauty with Feld, is that you got to meet a lot of the inside of the bowels of the arena. You've got to meet the folks, the operation folks, the marketing folks with the sports organizations. You got to meet the folks at the local arenas, at the American Airlines Center here in Dallas or wherever. And that opened some doors and some opportunities and came a knocking. And I thought, wow, from Kenneth Feld with Feld Entertainment to Mark Cuban being who he was, I thought the timing was great, and I love the Dallas market. The Dallas-Fort Worth area is a fantastic area, and it just kept me stable to stay here, and I've been here for about 16 years between Feld or Ringling Brothers, Disney on Ice, and the Dallas Mavericks. It's been great. Been very blessed.
Awesome. We only got about 23 more minutes. We won't kill you on this. You've been hanging tough, brother. All right, Ken Troop is up. We're going to start opening it to the floor. Fans and interesting folks. Ken Troop used to do ticket sales with the Texas Rangers and is now with the Phoenix Suns. I'm sorry, Phoenix Coyotes. I apologize. Go ahead, Ken.
Hey, Paul, what's going on? Hey, I'm curious to know what kind of efforts you put into marketing efforts you put into the individual ticket, or if at all now, because I'm sure you guys, like everybody else, is probably 30% down on walk-up on individual sales. Do you even put anything behind that anymore, or you just kind of take what you get for individuals?
No, we do. A lot of teams will tell you that we pride ourselves of having 400-plus sellout games or multi-season sellouts, but we won't kid you, there's work to be done. There's always going to be tickets to be sold. So on that individual game ticket or the singles, the big thing with that is how do you get those individuals in the door, and hopefully those are those right individual game buyers that are going to come on in, because we will have multiple tickets to sell on a game night. So I don't ever want to turn away a consumer that. And you've got to use those avenues to go out and speak to those consumers that they can come down, and it's worth their effort or their cost to come down and spend some money on parking, to walk up to the box office, and there be some tickets available, or to buy them online. But those are going to be my future ticket buyers. Those are my future full halves and minis. That's somebody. Maybe it's somebody out of college going to SMU, and it's a date night, and they're going to go buy a couple individual game tickets, and they're going to be sitting up on the terrace level. And if I can have them have a good time, and hopefully that male or female gets a nice job, and they look to maybe buy a mini package a few years later, and they're an Affinity fan, they had a great time. My job is really to sell from when you come into that parking lot to when you leave that game night, that you've had an amazing experience. I mean, that's what Mark has put our marketing communications department and operations staff to do, is to make sure that we try to do the best we can, always improving, but we want that individual game buyer to come on in and have a great time, and to come back, and then hopefully come back, and then they become a season ticket holder, a mini, and then those efforts going to happen in February, March, when I'm really working with the ticket sales department on those renewals, or to try to bring new season ticket holders on. So there's always tickets to be sold. It can be a few hundred to a couple thousand on a game night, and it's a lot better than a few thousand or 6,000 or 8,000. But you still always have tickets. You've got to use every type of medium, whether it's social, SMS, whether it's utilizing your local media outlets and your partners, especially the Fox Sports Southwest of the world or the ESPN radios, and utilizing those ticket promotions. But yeah, it's still important every day. I don't discount that.
That was good. You kind of segued right into my next question. I was curious to know how much, if any, direct mail do you guys do anymore with social and everything? But with direct mail, do you guys do any kind of nothing?
Nothing. No, not right now. And it's something that maybe we've looked at it. We haven't approached it to ownership. When I say ownership, being Mark, but there is what most teams are facing right now, or bigger arenas where you have more of the higher end inventory. American Airlines Center being one with multi amount of suites. It's how do you target those individuals, and maybe is direct mail back into the component of it. So definitely is something that's not gone away. I mean, I think all of us sit here and we still get direct mail pieces.
It's dead, dude.
5 to 6 of them a day. You get quite a bit. So no, we haven't done direct mail in about 8 years.
You don't need to. You got me. All right, we do. Paul knows, and I appreciate it. You respect the social media game. A lot of companies are not diving in. You are trying Google Hangouts. We've had a few drops, but you're trying it. You're trying this. You're trying the social media. You see the value in it. What are you seeing the best part about all this?
Well, I mean, the best part is it's great to be a part of it. Especially when you go back to the Circus days, about 15 years ago, when you first got into, some of us here probably in our mid to late 30s or early 40s or even older, but, it was the day it was just, your major print, your radio, your TV, and your outdoor, and you went out for that those GRPs, and you kind of hit a reach and frequency, and then it blows up with SMS and social and everything across the board. So you have to keep up. It's very hard because there are a lot of, probably the hardest thing that I fight, or there's so many companies out there of solicitation. It's more of it's like the Beanie Baby and the bobblehead companies have switched over to where it's a couple a day of how we can better amplify your audience, or how we can get you a return on investment. But I think the best is to be proactive. We've got a couple key guys in our marketing and communications department that really kind of take it full force. Obviously, having a great product that Mark and Donnie Nelson and company put out on the court is great. Being in a metroplex, being with the NBA that has become global. Obviously, I was glued, like a lot of folks, and watching our USA team, fight for the gold against Spain today. So globally, it helps. It just at the point of where does that measurement come? So I think we're still at the surface, like a lot of companies and a lot of business out there. But you've got, if you're not there, or you're not trying new things, or being challenged by our owner, or in the marketplace, or participating on things on a Google Plus chat tonight, this is fun. If you don't, you're gonna be left behind. And we're not perfect at everything, and it's great that we've got a lot of likes. We've got a lot of Twitter followers. It's just, how do you police it on a branding standpoint, making sure that players and your entertainers in your inner office are using it appropriately, and how do you measure that? How do you measure that into rating points on broadcast? How do you measure that into ticket sales? Or in sponsorship, and that's where we've seen probably the biggest gamut with some of it is the over delivery, that when we go out and amplify something on a Facebook or to our followers at an event, I mean, we see numbers that are double than what we had before.
Okay, that was good stuff. We got about 15 more minutes. Corey, you're next.
All right, thank you, Paul. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Corey, you all right?
I'm doing well. I'm in Dallas myself as well, so just sitting up 75 right now.
Nice. East side.
Yes, indeed. So I actually worked with the Anaheim Ducks a few years back when I was a grad student, and studying their social media and their in-game promotion side of things. The Samuelis and the owners, they had said they didn't really want to do much on the way of giveaways, like ticket giveaways through their social media, or too many reduced ticket sales, because they thought it would actually cheapen the value of the ticket sale itself. Now that was before the team's record took a dive, and then they kind of started resorting to that more. Would you explain a little bit how the Mavs have used group sales, your community ticket program, or any reduced sales, and how you've seen that come and go, pre-championship, post-championship?
Yeah, I guess kind of on a few things. We use social quite a bit as far as on some ticket. When we get on the ticket giveaways, we do that, and we'll do a lot of other giveaways, items that you would in an in-game. But where our social guys really come in hand, our in-game and those experiences of somebody going in and those being connected that game night in kind of a best seat. It's the simple stuff of taking somebody from the terrace level down to the lower level. We've done events. We've sold group. And you go to the group side, this might be kind of outside of scope of your question, but we've had group nights where we sell to our social network, to our Facebook followers, or our Ning friends.mavs.com followers, where we have kind of group nights, and we'll bring those fans on out, and that's something that Mark has been proactive on, and we'll, anything with a group night at an arena, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make that even more of a bigger experience. It's like the Cub Scouts, the Boy Scouts going, they want to see their name on the Jumbotron, or they want to do the color, they want to be the color guard, or the military, we want to do a re-enlistment night for the U.S. military. So with those folks, they want Mark. They look at our organization as somebody that's a founder in that cyber world. Has done a lot, and he's very proactive on that. So on a group standpoint, we don't sell so many groups on social, but we do things for that environment or that group. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, it was a little scattered. I mean, from my end, it was scattered, so no worries. You did well.
Brad, you're next, buddy.
And we're looking. So we got to speaking of going back to Anaheim. We're looking for a new CR manager. So anybody out there in community and corporate relations, just pass that along. There is an opening at the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh, I saw that. I thought that was your job. I thought you did like a...
Yeah, you didn't see my change of the hat routine. I did that.
Yeah, I was freaking out when I saw that. I'm like, oh, crap, no, he's not going to be a guest this weekend. Okay, Brad, you're up.
It's Brad from Atlanta Speedway. I mean, how do you guys balance between texting, marketing, and email marketing? Have you gone back a little bit on percentage of how much you do email marketing. It's about the same. I mean, it's been much of an adjustment from that standpoint.
Yeah, good question. We've got good providers. Our ESP, email service providers, Exact Target. We use Movivity. They were formerly TechStation for our SMS provider. And, probably on the SMS is the one that we don't overdo it a lot, where we could probably improve a little bit. Like this year, we're going to get our stats crew, our public relations department, a little bit more involved with that. Have fans socially and textually kind of send in their player of the game and let them pick the player. On email, same thing. It's kind of a catch-22 because you will want to send emails out to your season ticket holders. Need to get pretty much all your information because you don't want to. We almost don't want to send them too much to discourage that they're going to sign off or they're going to delist you. Because it is important, because there's important information for renewals, for billing, for early game tip-offs, for parking scenarios. So we're cautious on what we send out. Obviously, we segment within our large database of millions of who we send out, what we send out. We have a lot of cross-referencing or approval, so every email that goes out will hit my desk, along with a couple others. So there is some standard operating procedures on how those go out. But we don't flood. The biggest thing I think with organizations go back in through their Salesforce or their Microsoft or their CRM systems, they kind of know who those folks are that are getting out or deactivating from or delisting from an email, and then they kind of know if somebody has gone off of an email list, kind of knowing whether they're a season ticket holder, because that's the biggest thing that we fight. Our season ticket holders, making sure that they're completely satisfied. So we don't want to overdo it on that end. And then if they do decide to get out and don't want any more emails, we've got to encourage them back, or we've got to try to check them back in and getting that. But best practices and white papers on the Salesforce or these CRM systems, they're really against that, and they don't want to make sure that you're not sending a bunch of junk out. We're real particular on it. We might send one sales, a merchandise ad. We'll probably send one ticket ad. We've got a kids club. We've got a Mass Specials Direct. We've got a monthly newsletter. So we get into the millions on a monthly basis. What it is those contracts that you sign that you don't go over that, because that's where these email service providers will start kind of socking it to you, because they might be charging you 0.005 or a half a penny per email that goes out. Once you hit that threshold, and you might not know that on a contract, especially if you get in a busy time, like a finals or a playoff scenario, you've got to know that. And you've also got to be smart when you get in an off season to know when your contracts of not paying full rate, because you're not sending the flood of emails. We don't send near amount of emails that we send in October, November as we are in an August or a September. But yeah, we rely on those best practices, those white papers, those folks that we solicit from, or that are our vendors out there on those best practices.
For anybody just watching,
Brad, are you Texas Motor Speedway?
No, I'm with Atlanta.
Okay, and here's one thing, and I kind of hit Texas Motor Speedway right now, because speaking of Circus, there's a big billboard plastered up on our interstate on the tollway, and it's called Wild Asphalt Circus. Yeah. And it's a large billboard that they bought from a Clear Channel or a CBS Outdoor, and you kind of think, well, what is this? And it's a teaser ad, so they want you to go to wildasphaltcircus.com. But when you go there, what they failed to do on the promotion is to go all the way through, because it just takes you to a landing page, and they want you to sign up for the email. Right. So if I'm a consumer, that immediately turns me off of not knowing what this is. I know that Texas Motor Speedway is affiliated with it, and then you go in. So I think the execution is poor on that. They're a great group, but when I see something like that, if I'm a consumer or a fan, that's kind of a red flag. Do I want to get that information? The next thing I know, I'm bombarded with 20 emails of a new race that's coming in, and I become cautious. So our profiles are very limited of what we have, and then we are very limited of what we send out. But what's important is to keep those fans on board, because there's a lot of important information that goes out, whether it's, again, renewals, parking situations. We're going to lose some parking spaces here soon. So we need to make sure that we tell those fans of where they need to park their vehicles, because, again, that experience starts from when they get off that exit into those doors.
Mm-hmm. We're here with the Dallas Mavericks Vice President of Marketing, Paul Monroe. We've got about 6 more minutes. Very great stuff. You're right about you never want your marketing cannot make it an inconvenience for a fan. It needs to be an enhancement. Mandy works digital marketing with the Phoenix Suns. I know y'all have a close relationship, and the reason I say that is you both lost Steve Nash. So I know y'all are both hurting right now.
I think it's a harder loss right now for Phoenix, and Phoenix has some great stuff on the digital side. But I'm sorry for your loss, and I know it's going to be hard to see a bunch more Laker fans in that arena like we do in Dallas.
Yeah,
that's a good thing in making sure our season ticket holders and our fans fill it up royal blue and not purple and yellow.
No, it's crazy. It's like half and half. It's nuts, but they buy the tickets.
Yeah.
So my quick
you don't care.
You should.
Yeah.
You should go to a Hawks game.
So a quick question for you is, as you mentioned, like you guys are using a lot of text messaging, you're using a lot of social, you're using the team site, that kind of thing, all the different outlets, I guess. How do you guys find a balance between what marketing does versus what sponsorship does? I mean, obviously your goal is to push tickets, but how do you guys find that balance of the inventory per se? Like, there's only so many Facebook messages that can go out per day. Is that a ticket message or is that a sponsor message? Like, how do you guys internally find that balance?
Well, you got a couple things. As you know, kind of on the league side, we run in some higher ups on kind of what we can do on the sponsorship side of how much it. Of course, sponsorship would love. I'll back up. First, we're a conduit marketing and communications department. We're kind of a conduit to ticket sales, which at the end of the day, again, on sports is going to be your bread and butter.
Right.
And then your corporate sales, and then your merchandise. So, we kind of know at first you got to have that facility full. So, I've got close to 20,000 seats or 19,500 seats that I've got to fill, and that's the biggest point. So, of anything, I can swipe merchandise and I can swipe corporate sales and say this is carte blanche, or this is going to take priority on it. On the corporate side, this is it's kind of a new frontier. I mean, we're starting to explore of doing some promotions, whether it's a Coca-Cola, name that tune, or send us kind of a wild music video and put it up. Where the league is starting to allow us to kind of if it doesn't interfere with a league sponsor, maybe Kia, which is a league sponsor, we can't go out with a full-blown out Ford promotion with Ford being, a flagship partner in Dallas. We've got to be cautious on that. I don't know, just haven't really kind of run into it. We try to satisfy all groups, and I think as corporate sales, kind of finding out what are those impressions and what are they worth, and then knowing how do you treat that like TV inventory, knowing you've got 100 commercials. We can be really, really tight on that and say, marketing's is really controlling maybe 20 of those spots, and who are going to give those, and how do you bonus that? And I think that's another thing is you don't want to get into overly bonusing sponsors, and then at the end of the day, maybe next year everybody figures it out and puts valuations all of this stuff, and now you go back to an agency, you go back to a third party, or if it's a Dr. Pepper or one of our big sponsors, and they might say, well, wait a minute, you gave us XYZ million of impressions on Facebook, we want that again. And then, corporate sales are going to say, well, there's a CPM of this and that. We haven't hit it yet. So it's been, the league is very controlling. They have kind of toned down their flexing a little bit and allowed us to be a little bit more creative with sponsorships on it. But like I said earlier, when we've done sponsorship promotions or we've highlighted a promotion, whether it's the playoffs are coming and we're going to tie in with On the Border, which is a local Mexican restaurant chain here in the area, Hispanic restaurant chain in the area. If we're going to give out real estate signs that you would put up in your front yard, well, those are expensive. Those are about $3.50 a unit. So they're going to buy so many of them, and maybe it's 100 out of each store. So we do a few thousand for 100 stores or so, or 20 stores or so. And then we can amplify that on Facebook. Next thing we know, we're sold out right away. Corporate sales is excited, but then how do they justify that? What's that return on it? Because then you just don't want to start giving it away.
Right.
But it all goes back right now to ticket sales. and then doing the promotions, and really making it a standpoint that Mavs.com is a conduit for your broadcast, for your ticket sales information, and making sure all of that is tight. So I need to make sure that my tune-in information is tight. All my ticket packages are tight. Information on my various clubs and public relations, but everything else, socially, the great stuff, the behind the scenes that you get from the players, the cool promotions, amplifying what we've got already with ticket sales and so forth, all of that is done real key on Facebook.
Cool. Okay.
All you've got to do is get Dirk Nowitzki washing cars like he did the elephants. Why don't you do that?
Yeah, he won't go with that. He won't go for that. That's it's hard to say that to a 7-footer. You know, if I spoke German, maybe I'd get away with it. We did. You're talking of Circus, and it looks like if I could show you this photo, somebody showed me how to do it because I sent it to my me account. This last week, speaking of Circus promotions, we took a. This is gonna be pretty cool, but we took a helium balloon or a weather balloon, and we took a Dirk bobblehead to space this week. We took it up 98,000 feet, and the footage is pretty stunning. We added 3 GoPro cameras. We found some heavy Mavs fans that we actually found for our social world that live nearby that are ham radio and Rocketeers and helped us with all the logistics. So there are quite a few logistics with dealing with the FAA and dealing locally and where you shoot this off. So when it comes down and where the parachute lands, you can retrieve your cameras and footage. But I've got a picture of it. If I can put it up.
When are you going to get that video posted?
We got close about an hour and a half worth of footage from the 3 cameras because it took about 30 to 40 minutes to go up.
And he's already been in space?
Dirk, the complete bobblehead made it to space. It made it completely to space. Once it hit the atmosphere of about 98,000 feet, it did get very disturbing to see Dirk shake and the head kind of dislodge. And the weather balloon, because it is so cold up there, it shattered. And then it dislodged, and the parachute came on out. We retrieved all 3 cameras, and we'll make some great in-game content for our fans. And
did Dirk the bobblehead survive?
For somebody going to a game and saying, "Wow, I want to come back and see more of this maybe goofball circus antic."
Did Dirk survive the bobblehead?
You know, made in China was pretty impressive. The head, but everything else stayed. I was impressed. It stayed in contact. The feet and the head need to be repaired a little bit. But what we'll do is we'll put the Dirk in space and we'll sell it through our charity online auction, and the proceeds will go to Mavs.com.
Awesome. All right, we're about 3 minutes out. We got 2 quick questions. Brooke Brown's next. Diana finishes off the show. Let's do it.
Hey, Paul. Just want to kind of like sum up what we've talked all about. But I'm curious, since we all have mentioned how important social media has been in the last maybe 7 to 8 years. Do you think a team's image in terms of this is a hip team to go see has helped the turnaround in terms of actual play, the championship, and the need for fans to come buy tickets to see a Mavs game now? Do you think the overall image and turnaround from where it was before Cuban bought it to when Cuban has also helped?
Yeah, it absolutely. I mean, yes, because again, about 7-8 years ago when I started, one of the marketing department's first call to action or charges was to really go after the collegiate market. In Dallas, we have a handful of universities. I mentioned SMU earlier, but there's a couple University of Texas locations here, Arlington and Dallas, and TCU not far down the road, and a lot of other great universities in the area. So going there and Mark speaking to these folks, they were already on the SMS mainstream. I mean, that was kind of the first hit, and then we played around with it. But we tried to we still go in, and it goes back, we still grassroot a lot. And one of our biggest grassroots is to get into the local high schools around the fall when basketball and football are pretty big, or both of them. One's kind of finishing up and one's gearing back up. But a lot of what I've noticed over the years, again, it's not just putting your website. Nobody wants to go to the website. No high school student does. I mean, they want the Twitter handle. They want to go to Facebook. That's where they want to buy the tickets. And you do have to be hip. I mean, it's just not taking Mavs Man or a mascot out there, and it's got to be cool. And it's, I think, like all consumers, they're the ones. How do you be cool without it's kind of like me being a dad trying to be cool with my 8-year-old. And taking him to the circus today and saying, hey, it's pretty cool, and he really doesn't want to go, but when I get him in that seat and he watches the lion act or he watches whatever it is, he gets captivated, but it's that piece of how do I captivate him. So I use a lot of watch my kids, and then I really, as a marketer, I think all of us here that are in this type of capacity, whether it's in ticketing or promotions, you get more geared of looking at maybe a younger generation. And yes, so you've got to be cool what you put out there. So that's where the players, because our players, and I always think now I'm older, and these players are coming out and they're 23, 25, 26, 27, early 30s. That's what they know, and that's how they communicate. So, we don't really use cool a lot. That's kind of not a mark thing, but what's going to be entertaining to them, what's going to engage, and what's going to be fun. I mean, we have to do things socially responsibly. It's just not a goofy video, but it's how are you doing something socially in the community. If it's planting trees in a local park and bringing some of your players out there, well, maybe that sparks an interest when somebody's looking at on Facebook, or somebody talks about it and that disseminates. That could be real cool, or a recycling or a Green Week program or a Latino Heritage program. I mean, we try to be real of everything that we do. We don't want to be, shooting a bobblehead up is fun, but there's just there's a wide variety of it.
But you made some out of it. You made it a charity deal. That's awesome. Last question.
You always want to. What we do is we're always full circle in everything that we do. It's there's a public relations point of it to make sure anything that we disseminate on the social, it can be disseminated out to our local media, and the stuff in the press release, even though it's going to be truncated of what we put out there to that certain audience. We need to expand on that. We still need to respect the other media forms out there, because is also going to feed back. And how do I get that? How do I cross-pollinate that content and repurpose that? I take something, and then on socially, how do I repurpose that and everything else? From a CR angle to a community angle to a public relations angle to an in-game, on and on.
Yeah, I got you. Man, one last question. You were awesome tonight. Appreciate your time. But Diana is the last follow-up, and then we'll close the show. Go, Diana. I think everybody gets to ask a question, which is cool.
So,
hey, Diana.
Paul, I see that you're a football fan because of the helmets. Or you really just like helmets?
I got in, like a lot of, I would say guys and women. I went to Florida State University. I went back in what we call it, a lot of colleges, USC, or if you spend time at Notre Dame. I had all up years and down years. The up years were kind of in the early 90s at my university. We had a quarterback named Charlie Ward that when I was there that we won the championship. Yeah. Bobby Bowden was our coach, and they've been in the news a lot, Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno, unfortunately, the wake of Penn State. But getting out of that, I've always loved college football, and I've always loved sports. And I got into collecting Heisman Trophy helmets. So all the helmets back here are from past Heisman Trophy winners. That's probably what you see, and that's.
Oh wow!
That's high.
They're helmets from. I was born in 1970. I'll disclose my age, but Jim Plunkett won it in 1970, and it's something I've been doing probably for about 20 years. So I don't go out and just buy a bunch, but there are.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
It's a neat.
That is sweet, dude.
Charlie Ward and Chris Winkie are two of my prized possessions because they're my university. But Ricky Williams, and I've got Doug Flutie down here. People know him from Boston College.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've got my math stuff, so it's in here. But it's a collection that I've had for a long time. So I'm very passionate on college sports, and then I love my Mavs and all my Dallas teams, from the Rangers, the Stars, and Cowboys.
Man, I love that. Hey, actually, Diana, she throws out wacky questions. She got a good one there. Diana, that was your best question.
Let's see, I got these Coke bottles that are for the Alabama National Championship. So, hey.
That's awesome.
Are you in Alabama?
I am. I am.
Very nice.
Well, hey, everybody, thank you for joining tonight. Hey, for your first hangout, man, Paul Monroe, you did awesome. Dallas Mavericks,
thank you.
The marketing.
Nice job. Nice job.
Hey, some really great insight. I really appreciate your time, and we'll talk down the road, I guess.
Let's do it again. I'd love to hop on again. I appreciate Chris. Chris is great. We've had a good relationship over the years, and the Huddle Production is doing some awesome stuff. So we'll continue on, and I'd be glad to hop back on or be just a listener or a moderator. Thanks, everyone.
Outstanding. Thank you, man. Have a great night.
Nice talking with everyone. Go Phoenix. Alabama.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya.